Hey everybody, this is Antonette Crosby once again back at A Time to Chill, and we want to say this show is for you, by you, for black and brown people to see yourself in high self-esteem, to feel high self-esteem within yourself, to know that you have a goal and a purpose to walk in. So we want to show you people in Madison of black and brown descent that are doing their things, whether they're working on a job, whether they're being entrepreneurs, they work in any industry as far as entertainment, want to be their own bosses, want to create jobs for others, because our children need to know that we can be whatever we want to be, because everything that we want to be is already instilled within us. So right now we have a lady, a black woman. She's an author, and she has her own organization, nonprofit organization. I would like for you to be introduced to Sagashus Levingston.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Sagashus.
And we got to correct you though. It's a for-profit organization.
Oh, for-profit
company.
Okay, see, we've been doing nonprofit for a little bit, so you know, you got that bread.
I am.
Okay, and so you should be. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your your for-profit organization.
So a couple of things. So Infamous Mothers LLC
It's
is
Infamous Mothers.
Infamous. Yep. Infamous Mothers LLC is a technology, media, and education company that's designed for moms who really defy the status quo. And the reason why we chose to be nonprofit, the reason why we chose to not go the nonprofit route was for two reasons. The first is because there were so many nonprofits in Madison that we did not want to be part of that nonprofit industrial complex, in terms of finding ourselves competing against people who should be organizations that we are supporting and collaborating with, right?
Okay.
And so what happens is, once you throw those dollars in the ring, and it's a finite number of dollars the way we think about it,
Everybody fighting for it.
everybody's fighting for it, and it creates some type of tension. But the other piece is because we ultimately knew that for us to make the impact that we wanted to make and be able to scale to the level that we wanted to scale, that it made more sense to choose a for-profit structure, right?
Okay.
So if you think about many nonprofits, how many nonprofits outside of places like the Urban League or the YMCA or YWCA or the NAACP are national organizations, right?
Those are the basics that come to your mind when you.
Yeah, so, or maybe even Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, or maybe the Boys and Girls Club, but those are often the exception and not the rule. So when you think about the idea of scaling, we knew that we wanted to have national and international impact. So we chose a for-profit structure because, based on our research, it seemed like that will allow us to move in the direction we wanted to move in.
Okay, all right, that makes a lot of sense to me, because then you can structure your programming how you would like, and not how someone else wants it to be.
That was the third reason. I'm glad you brought that up. So I come from a very grassroots organizing type background. My mom started a nonprofit with several other people. She currently works for that nonprofit. What's interesting about that? Oh, and community organizing, right? So what's interesting about that is you could build something, and your board could vote you out of the very thing that you created, right? With the nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for-profit companies, the bigger they get, and depending on and whether or not they go public, et cetera, that is a real possibility for them as well. But a nonprofit, you can't exist as a nonprofit if you don't have a board, and that board could at any given moment decide that they want to vote you out of your own,
Or even
or change what it is that you set out to do, the vision what you set out to do.
exactly.
And that I didn't want. I've spent most of my adult life heading to this direction. I
Okay.
wanted to have full control, and I think as a black woman, I've had so much of my life be determined, like from living in low-income housing, right? Food stamps, all of those things. And so much of my life, my eating allowance, my living allowance has been determined by other people. I knew that I had gotten to a point where I wanted to determine my own destiny and fate. And I didn't want to go the nonprofit route because I didn't want someone to have that control over me.
Because you've already come from that.
I've already come from that.
All right, now tell me, you come from that. Now, where are you today, other than your nonprofit? I think we have an educated sister on our hands here. Okay, not just a teen mom and, a government assistance programmee. Who am I sitting? Who am I sitting with, baby? Let us know. Yes.
So what do you want to know about me today?
Because I think the buzz is that you have a doctorate of some sort.
I do have a doctorate. So I have a doctorate in English literature from the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Okay.
And how that program shaped me and prepared me to do what I'm doing now is, with that English Lit degree came studies in rhetoric, women's studies, motherhood studies, and African American studies.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a perfect intersection of all the things that positioned me to run the type of company that I'm running. But what prepared me to do it in terms of the skill set that I got from that PhD program is, the PhD is all about finding a problem and solving it.
Okay.
Right? And business is all about finding a problem and solving it.
And being a black mother is about
finding a problem and solving it.
My girl.
And so it gave me a unique set of qualifications to do what I do. So on the one hand, it may seem like it's not a one-to-one jump, but on the other hand, so many things that set me up to succeed in that program sets me up to succeed in business today.
Yes. And that's what I was saying too in the beginning of the show. How I opened up the show, like whatever skills what we want to achieve in life, we already have those skills.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't want those things unless you have those things inside of you already, right?
It's funny you said that, because we were talking on the phone the other day, and you asked the question, and you said, well, why is it that what is it about you where you feel like people should listen to you? Right? Like, who are you where people should listen to you? And I thought about that when we get off the phone. And I came in prepared today to talk about, or just to briefly mention, is the work that I do is never about me telling people what they should do. The work that I do is about coaching people that they already know what to do. Right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not me that you're listening to, it's you listening to you, right?
Okay.
So it was in perfect alignment with what you just said, right? So much of what our company is about, so we talk about building a mothering practice from the inside out. So much of how people are trained to mother comes from the outside in, right?
Okay.
What your mom has taught you, your grandparents taught you, society has taught you. So now you find yourself on a totally different playing field. You're trying to do these things that everybody else has taught you, but something inside of you is saying, but this isn't working for my life today. Mm-hmm. But we won't listen to what's inside of us, and we won't cultivate that voice. We will listen to all the things that has come from the outside in. And so part of my job when we work with mothers is, what is the voice that's inside of you telling you about your circumstances today, and how do we make that voice bigger, and how do we build, how do we acknowledge it, and how do we build structure, and how do we build practices around the thing that's inside of you, right?
Yes, that's important. And you know what? I am for women, totally. I'm woman. But when I hear you, it's every woman that I interview is the woman. But where does the man go? When the man, can a man come to your organization and say, hey, I'm having some difficulty too. I'm raising 2 kids. I need some help. Where do you have a place for them to go, or do you have any suggestions? Because all men are not the same, mm-hmm. right? And we were talking about this earlier as far as how we pick them too.
Yeah.
How we choose and why we choose the same type of man.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the men, but I had to throw that out there for the men. Well, so I have to get the answer from you. Is there?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So we're launching Startup Infamy, which is a cohort for entrepreneurs who are, in many ways, well, first and foremost, for the moms that we target. But included in that, men are welcome. Women who don't have children are welcome. The reason why we didn't change our name from Infamous Mothers to something else is because we want to make it very clear that who we target and who we are, who's most important to us, who we privilege, who's our priority, are the moms who defy the status quo. If you're someone who can get with that, then you're welcome, right? But these are the moms. Think about it. When you start a company, or when you go to places in this community that are meant to help people who are entrepreneurs or who help students, et cetera, professionals, where's their daycare for these people? Where's a space show me the proof that this space had already imagined this kind of woman when they constructed or designed their program, or they designed their coaching, right? If you show me that proof, then my work is not needed.
And when you say that, that reminds me, okay, show me the woman like this. All right, show me when I envision a woman going to college, I envision a single woman going to college. I envision a single woman wanting a part-time job. But in our case, in our culture, a lot of times we have children early. Maybe we have had a husband and he passed, or we're separated. So, or we have a sister that was on drugs and we have to take her child. So now we have hers and ours.
Yeah.
So when you say, okay, give me where I envision, give me a program that's going to embody me in all our situations.
Got it. So we have several. So tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for.
Okay, so say I'm looking for, I might need daycare assistance. I'm 35 years old. I've just gotten out of a terrible relationship. I have 4 kids. I'm finally figuring out that I want to be a social worker. Now I have to go to school, but I'm stressed with these bills. I'm stressed. I need some help. How can you help me?
So that's one of the reasons why. How do I say this? So that's more nonprofit work.
Okay.
Right, and so you could probably go to a place like Aber. You could probably go to a place like the Urban League, or your school.
So what am I paying you for? If I can come up with
Okay.
some dollars, what I'm paying you for? What am I
So
getting
if
from
you
your
were-
program?
So if you were interested in building a business, if you were
Okay.
interested in increasing your income, or interested in moving up in your work, right? So say for instance, if you're saying, I've come into this company and I want to elevate myself in this company. I've come in at the entry level, but I want to move up.
Mm-hmm.
But since you're first generation, since you're in the workplace that often don't see you and you're invisible, you don't know how to make those moves, right?
Right.
So then my job is to come in and coach you on how to do that.
Okay.
If you want to own a company, a lot of times we don't see ourselves as being able to own a company. So we'll run a nonprofit, but how many black women do you see proudly say, I am a CEO and founder of a company?
Not many. Or they're in charge of someone else's company.
They're in charge of someone else's company, and usually they're a manager of someone else's company, but maybe not necessarily in charge, right?
Okay.
They're middle management.
Yeah.
Right. So
Upper
often,
management. I've some ladies. I've met some ladies, and then I'm with their neck up. I'm upper management.
Exactly.
And
Right.
it sounds real sophisticated, but then I'm thinking, so you running somebody else's business?
And that's kind of right. So we will do nonprofit. We will go the management route, and we're proud we're upper management. But many of us are not trained to see ourselves as CEOs. We're not trained to see ourselves. So that takes a lot of coaching, because it's a lot of undoing in our mind of who we can be, what we can do, and what makes us worthy, right?
Okay.
And then you have to go against all of the. So for the average white man who raises $1.2 million to get a tech firm off the ground, black women raise $42,000. $42,000 for every $1.2 million that a white man makes, right? So when you're up against that, and you don't understand the numbers, you don't necessarily know how to work around it.
Right, and then it gets frustrating.
And it gets frustrating, and then you want to
Quit.
give up, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because all of these invisible barriers are up against you. So what you hire me to do is stand back to back with you, and then for us to stand toe to toe with everyone else to get you where you want to go, right?
Now you say stand back to back with you so we can stand toe to toe, and that's a very good perception of my idea of how we are to unite to gain ground in the economy, with our mentality, with our mental health, right? We got to stand back to back so we can go toe to toe with them, with the opposition.
Yes.
And I don't want to always make it black and white. We know how the economy is. We know what system we live in.
Yes.
But within that system, we need to learn how to grow,
Yes.
right? And you and I had talked about our mental growth.
Yes.
So with you coming from Me Too, government cheese, and public housing, but something in us is like, we got to have something. We want something. And I had children. My first was at 25. I have 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 6.
I have 2. Yeah, I have 6, and my first one was at 22, I think.
And you have 6.
Yeah.
So for a woman who has 6, maybe at 35 or whatever, and she knows she wants to do something, she's got all of this.
Yeah.
Ooh, you've got a lot when you have 6 children. What happened? I asked you too, what was the light that came on? Where did you get your motivation and your strength from? Because how the hell you have all strength and you gotta feed 6 kids, baby? That's like playing spades. That's more hands than at the dinner table. You passing out forks and how do you maintain your sense of validity and still have to give all of yourself?
Well, I think part of it is because I always felt I had a right to it.
And you say you have a right.
I have whatever it was that I set my mind out to accomplish. I always felt like I had a right. I had a right. If I wanted to be the founder of a company, I had a right to be the founder of a company. If I wanted to write a book, I had a right to do it. I never felt as if. That's what I wanted. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's what I wanted to get to,
so that our women and our black men know that we have a right to have it. Yeah. Like you should feel like you felt that deep in your soul. Like I have a right to be what I want to be, despite the odds of a society or what my situation looks like.
I felt like I had a right to these things mainly because of the odds, right? By nature,
okay.
Because you told me I couldn't have it, because I was trained or people were trying to convince me that I shouldn't have it, I knew even more that I was supposed to have it.
All right.
And just by the way that I'm wired, right? It's like, I can't have it. Yes, I can. Why? Why wouldn't I be able to have it, right? So then the question becomes, well, how do I get it? The other question is, how bad do I want it?
Okay.
Right? And so people were never the obstacles. I never really got caught up in once you told me I couldn't and I knew that I could, then I was done with you and I was done with everybody like you.
Yeah.
The problem became when life started coming in my way. And it was like, okay, so life started, it became me and life. So life was saying to me, so you want it? Yeah, I want it. Well, you want it now? What about if I throw this at you? You still want it? Well, what about? So then now, all of a sudden, I became an expert at managing the things that was coming my way. It was like, okay, well, give me more. Okay, oh, you throwing that? Okay, what about this? What about this? Okay, yeah, like I was watching Creed the other day, and it was like, it got to the point where I started to like the pain.
Yeah, okay.
Right, it was like, you're sending me, the pain was something, because it wasn't the pain that I liked the way I watched myself push through it, right? And then it got to the point where I was able to outpower pain, and then just kind of like, let me find somebody else to bother, right? And then I pushed through that wall, and then life started changing for me. Once life saw that I was more resilient than it was, then it got out of my way and just let me do me.
Okay.
Right, so things kept coming. I'll give you first an example. First year I got here, I lost 2 family members the first year. Do you still want to stay? Like, how convinced and how sure do you want to become a doctor? My biggest heartbreaks came right before it was time for me to graduate. This pain is hurting so badly that why don't you go somewhere and nurse this pain? So what I started doing, it was like Rumpelstiltskin. I started taking that hate and turning it to gold. Every time something hurt me, instead of me letting that hurt define me, I would say, okay, how do I spin this into something else, right? So then it would be the next topic of a research paper. It would be a poem that I write. Like, it was always, every beautiful thing I accomplished had come from something horrible that had happened. Okay. And I had gotten so used to spinning it like that, that when things started coming, it was almost like I was still affected, but I wasn't affected to the point. Me and life knew that I was never going to be so affected that it was going to incapacitate me.
Yes. That's what I'm that's what I'll be looking for. People like, you be asking questions, what you looking for? I'm looking for just that. I'm looking to hear your perseverance. I'm looking for you to be honest and open, so that the person who is not honest and open, the person who is sheltered and an introvert, can see themselves in you and be like, I can do that. Like, if she can do that, I have that. I want to see myself in you. I don't want to. I don't want to see. I don't want to look down on you. I want to see myself in you, whether it's good or bad. So I know which piece to keep, which piece, because we're energy, and we belong to each other. Like our lives belong to everyone else. Our life is our testimony for someone else.
That's right.
And people don't understand that. They just think I'm nosy. And I am a little bit, but for a good reason, so that we can learn from each other's pain and each other's, I feel like our successes is someone else's success. Our failure could be someone else's success. Like you said, I took the pain and I was like, I'm making this pain out of something else. I'm weaving this pain into gold. And I think that's a natural ability for oppressed people.
Yeah.
And that's like the 50%, and then the other 50 they just, self-medicate or drink or, use sexual addiction, or because I've been depressed as well. Like I think I walked around in depression for maybe 2 years and didn't know it. Yeah. When you lose yourself in pain. And I'm watching my brothers and sisters out here loving themselves, that have love within them, but they don't know how to, they're scared to expose it. They don't know how to treat the pain. They have talent out here, and they're letting the pain overpower them.
Now, full disclosure, even through all of those fights, I still had things I struggled with, right? So in doing those fights, one of the things that I started doing was I found myself always eating. In a span of maybe 3 or 4 years, I gained 100 pounds, right? So I'm working on losing that 100 pounds, right? So it's not without cost. That fight is not without cost, right? Like, so if you think about a real boxing fight, the winner comes out the winner, but sometimes ribs are cracked, sometimes the eyes busted, right? Yeah. So like for me, the outcome of that was 2 things. I really had to work on mending my self-esteem, and I had to get back in touch with my self-care. I was somebody who worked out 6 days a week. It was always 2 days of yoga, 3 days of weight training, and then 6 days of cardio. That was me for years. But the fight had gotten so overwhelming. In order for me to, I had gotten up against so many things that I dropped the self-care, and I just kept the fight going.
Okay.
And at some point I got stable enough where I said, okay, this thing has beat you up enough. You have to mend yourself, right? So when I got it on safe, so you think about it, if you're in the middle of a war, you're not going to stop and do push-ups.
No, I don't think you're thinking of swinging and staying alive.
There you go. So right now that you've survived a war, you look at what has happened to you along the way. You survived, but there's some things that you have to address within yourself. So I had survived. I had gotten a PhD. I had gotten a business off the ground. I had done those things. Mm-hmm. Now that I have published a book, now it's, okay, what do I need to work on within me now? So I went and signed up for a personal trainer for back to weightlifting, because now I'm trying to weightlift, and I'm trying to do yoga, and I'm trying to do the cardio thing the way that I did it 6 years ago. I'm not who I was.
Well, 6 years ago, you can't.
And it was hard to acknowledge that.
Okay.
Like, it killed me. And then I finally had to say, you need some help. So I hired folks to help me, and I'm getting stronger. Okay. Right. So my mind was already there, but physically, I stopped being me. So I found myself today, I got up and I did my little sun salutations, and I'm like, hold on, bitch, you can do this.
Okay.
Like, right? But I couldn't do it before. I couldn't do a downward facing dog.
No.
Now all of a sudden, I found myself like, hold on, you can do this. So in the time that I've been doing this, I've gotten stronger, right? Okay. And it's starting over, but it's feeling really, really good to be able to see that I can do today what I couldn't do 5 weeks ago, or 6 weeks ago, or 12 weeks ago.
And that's good for your self-esteem. You need to,
yes.
I feel in my experience, to challenge yourself, to test yourself, to say no to yourself.
Yeah.
But you say you wrote a book.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about this book. You didn't say that before.
So,
what is this book called? What is this book about? And those are the answers. Go. The questions. Go.
The book is called Infamous Mothers, Women Who've Gone Through the Belly of Hell and Brought Something Good Back.
Okay.
And the book was never meant to be for public consumption. It was created for, when I was working on a dissertation, I could not find that many stories that were that was answering the question that I was looking to answer. And the question was, can women who come from great adversity, or women who are seen as detestable or reprehensible by our society, actually be change agents? So women that we see as teen moms, recovering addicts, alcoholics, sex workers, anybody that society we judge as a mom, can these women ultimately be change agents in our society? So think about Suicide Squad.
Change agents.
Right.
What is a change agent?
So people who bring about, people bring about change in our society, and we're thinking about positive change, impactful change, right?
Well, those are the people that you want that's dealt with life. How could you help me get through anything and you haven't been through anything?
So, well, it depends, because some people feel as if you have the credentials, or if you have the work experience, then you can solve some problems, right?
Well, I'm not some people, because, baby, if I have children and I have a problem with children postpartum, and you have never had children or gone through postpartum, or had a friend with children, why am I listening to you? Because of your credential?
Because of your credentials.
Well, we are some, okay.
And so that's what you think. Did you ever see the movie Suicide Squad?
No. I've seen a lot of movies. Refresh my memory.
So Suicide Squad, the government had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And their experts couldn't solve it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the people who were kind of the villains or the outsiders came in and partnered with the government, and they were able to solve a problem that the government on its own couldn't handle.
Yeah, that makes sense. I need a prostitute to tell me why I have this sex addiction and how I'm going to get over it, because what was your plan?
And the idea, so here's an even better example. The respectable woman doesn't realize that her husband and many of his friends are having sex with a prostitute. Right, because he tells her he's going out to watch the Super Bowl, but the prostitute knows who's buying sex from the prostitute.
Yeah.
So once she is able to sit at the table with these folks, then she can talk about ways in which we can address these problems in our community.
Yes.
Because she's seen it firsthand, because she lived it. Whereas respectable woman, I would never go there. I would never. Okay, the sex worker's like, well, I've been there, and I have all type of expertise in this area where you wouldn't go. And for me, that's where innovation comes in, and they're able to bring to the table experience and a vision that these people can't, because they don't have that exposure.
And that makes sense. That's like church.
I was thinking about church when I gave that example.
Yeah, that's like church. That's how church used to be.
And that's exactly where the women who've gone through the belly of hell and brought something good back, because the Bible says, if you make your bed in hell, I'll meet you there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so the idea that a lot of times church people won't meet you in hell, right? But if you are a believer, and this is not me stating my faith, because it's not about me right now, but if you are a believer, you believe in that scripture, then you believe that even when you're in hell, that there's work to be done, and that there's somebody who's coming to meet you, right? So in our book, one of the women, she did not tell this story in the book, but she told it to me while I was interviewing her. She said that she was sex working. And the church people wasn't messing with her anymore, because she was an addict and she was sex working. And a dude pulls up on her while she's out, and she asks him, what do you want to put it, in my butt or my mouth? Right? Because she assumes he's looking for sex.
Yeah, definitely.
And he tells her, ma'am, I'm not here to put it anywhere. The Lord told me to ask you, what are you doing out here? Who are your people?
Aww.
And then that man, and she put that man in contact with one of her people. Then they pulled their money together to transfer her to another city, to where her people were, and her life started changing, right? So whereas the church people wouldn't meet her there, the people that she grew up with in the church, a random person off the street met her, and then she got her life together, and she's in the community doing extraordinary things now, right?
Yes.
And so the reason why I love addicts, so like I don't drink, I don't smoke, but the reason why I love addicts is because part of their recovery is about the importance of not being judgmental, right? But for the grace of God, there go I, right? The idea that anything that you are is anything that I could be, right? There's no difference between you and me, right? And that to me is the best religion.
Yes, because there are no titles. So that's God love. He's not a respecter of title. By all means, love yourself. Go and get your education. create a respectable title for yourselves. But that's just a title. Who are you on the inside? What do you give to your community and to the world other than a piece of paper or an education to say, hey, I'm this? What can you give from your heart, from your experience?
I think in all honesty, I think the titles
kind of limit you, if you ask me.
Well, they make sense
because now I'm looking down on you.
In the white world, they make sense. But when I go home, I don't leave with I'm a doctor or an author. Like my credibility at home is the fact that I have 6 kids and I'm from the low end.
Okay.
Like folks, like they don't care about, because the thing is, what were you doing with them while you were away from us? It builds distrust. But if I can tell you where I'm from, if I can tell you, look, I got 6 kids, 4 different daddies. I'm from South Side Chicago, low end. Actually, 41st King Drive, right down the street from Ida B. Wells, right, not too far from Robert Taylor's, not that far from Newtown. Then folks like, okay, well, we know you know people. We know where you from. We know who your grandma is. I can identify with you. You start showing up talking about credentials, they like, who?
What? What that got to do with me?
And can I trust you?
And you trying to look down on me?
Exactly.
You think you better than me?
I had to tell a friend of mine, she would always say, I was going home and I would talk about this very prestigious college that I went to, and because I don't want to say the name, and they would and people would turn their nose up at me, or they would look at me funny, and they just wasn't happy for me. And I said, well, you have to look at it from their perspective.
Yeah.
These people are in survival mode, right? So you showing up, when you show up and roll your sleeves back and figure out how you're going to kick in, then all the other stuff may matter. But if you're just showing up because you want people to praise you, like what does your accomplishments have to do with them when they're in survival mode right now?
Right, definitely. I love that. That another thing that we spoke about too is as far as survival mode and kicking in and using the abilities that you have, because a lot of us, we have great abilities, but we think that, oh, well, I just got to do this. This is what I do. This is who I am. But those things that you can do, like I'm the type of person that feels a need. Like if I see a need, I can wear many hats. I can cook, I can clean, we can talk, I can play with the kids, I can teach the kids. So what do I contribute to feel the need? Like I'll be somewhere. I'll be at somebody's house and this is so funny. She's cooking, her kids running around. I got them together. Where the crayons at? Got them together. And I'm sitting in the kitchen on my phone and I'm noticing like this floor kind of dirty, right? And it's my family. Yeah. So I just started sweeping like, okay, let's get this together. And she didn't know how to accept the help.
Yeah.
She was like, well, why are you cleaning up? And I was like, because it needs to be swept up in here. Like you want to be comfortable with these kids. You know, and I noticed that when, as black women or women in general, when we have a lot on our plate, we don't know how to accept the help. We're so strong with wanting to, or having the, have to do it.
Well, I think part of it, so my research started from reading an article about a woman who killed her baby, right?
Okay.
And part of the reason why she was going to church, and a couple asked if they can adopt. They saw she was struggling. She had all these kids. She was struggling. And they asked, do you mind if we adopt your baby, his youngest baby she had, or maybe she was pregnant at the time? And she said, no, thank you. But then not too long after, she killed the baby. And so the question was, if you knew you were struggling, why didn't you accept the help?
Right.
Because I didn't want to come across as a bad mom.
Oh.
Right? So there's always this pressure on, right? So if I give up my baby and I'm struggling, are people going to say, you know what, you did the right thing, you knew you couldn't handle it, you were overwhelmed? Or are people going to say, she shouldn't have been having all them kids anyway, she knew she couldn't handle it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's what people going to say.
Exactly. So I'm already feeling bad about myself. You started talking about self-esteem, right? I'm feeling bad about myself and beating up on myself. I'm going to try to stick this out. Now, I don't imagine that I'm going to snap and kill my kid. Like, why would I imagine that?
Right. Or I would have just gave him up.
But at some point, the pressure, so I think we pressure moms in ways that we don't pressure other people, right? We expect them to be exceptional in terms of, a mom is like a God term. It's like, if you are a mom, we put you on this pedestal and you have to be perfect. And if you at some point say that you can't handle it, then now we put a different set of pressure on you. So it's kind of like a catch-22. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So I would rather go with the looking like I'm the good mom piece and not accept your help, because what will come with that help? the idea, because it's your help for me more about you, right? So you show up. I talk to social workers about this all the time. Well, why are you a social worker? Because I like helping people. Well, is it about the person that you're helping, or is it about the fulfillment you get?
Probably the fulfillment they get.
Exactly. So if this is fulfilling you, but your fulfillment comes at the price of my shortcomings, then why would I want to accept?
Man, that's deep.
Your help, right?
That's deep. That's deep. I would have never thought that in that way if I wanted to become a social worker. I would have never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And that's probably why a lot of people don't like to accept help.
Because what does it mean when you help me? What is the price I'm paying for that help? Even if it's the idea. So I remember a friend. She came out. I tell people all the time. She said, "How did you become a doctor? How did you?" I stopped cleaning my house. Like, I didn't have time to clean my house. Like, I knew where my shoes were. I knew where my keys were. I knew where my kids' clothes were. Okay, I knew where the food was. I knew how to function and survive and be okay. But I had to give away. I had to stop being a perfectionist. And so my friend came over, and one day she was helping clean the house, and the whole time, oh, y'all kids need to. Hey, y'all, who the hell want to hear all that?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear all that.
Yeah.
So how about we just sit in our house the way it is, and we feel good amongst ourselves, then have you come over and make us feel bad about what's making you uncomfortable. Go home. Like, we don't want to.
You just made me feel bad because I was uncomfortable. I just started cleaning up. So maybe that's how she thought. Like, yeah. But my mom was like, Antonette, you spring cleaning, the white glove, and no noxema on your face when you go outside, and this is what I wanted to ask you too. When you said that, you had to do everything. Do you think that in our culture as Black mothers, we raise our boy girls and our boy children and our girl children backwards against our natural way of being? Like,
Tell me what you mean by that.
Are we harder on the girls and softer on the boys? Like, because this is what I'm noticing.
I think we are. I think the problems that we like to identify or often identify with our sons, a lot of that, I'm not saying all of it, I'm not saying most of it, to be clear. A lot of that comes in the way that we parent, right? So a lot of times we do one of two things. We are extra hard on our sons, our daughters, and we're soft on our sons, or we're extra hard on our sons because we feel like the world is going to be hard enough. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so there's often, if we're not conscious or aware, there's no balance, right? So we're super soft on our sons, in part because for us they represent our little men.
Okay. Right?
Or we're super hard on our sons because it's like, you go back to slavery, I have to beat you harder than a slave master would, right? But often we don't strike up the balance in between. And our girls, we automatically, and we raise our sons with a double standard, our children with a double standard. We tell our girls, keep your panties up and your skirts down, right? Mm-hmm. And we tell our sons, don't commit, don't trust these girls, they out here, don't commit, right? So our girls have to be pious and pure, and they have to be, find the right one, and our sons can go through the whole neighborhood. And we're okay with that because you can't trust these hoes, right?
Yeah.
And this is the mothers.
Yes.
So then we get upset when we have a society of men who don't commit, because we've ultimately trained them to not commit. So like my cousin would always say, we teach the girls how to play house, we teach the boys how to break shit. And then at some point we want it to all make sense and they come together.
And it doesn't.
And it doesn't, right? And then we're confused.
Right. Exactly. Because I'm looking like, wait a minute, hold on now. What's going on here?
Yeah, if your son is playing with a doll, you're already panicking. Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, what's wrong? Right? So we're not thinking that maybe it's helping him figure out how to be a dad or a big brother, or it's automatically the homophobia kicks in. Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing between.
Right.
The homophobia and the whatever. There's nothing in between. It's either this or it's that. Right? Mm-hmm. Either you're playing with a doll and you're gay, or you're not playing with a doll and you're playing with a ball and you're a real boy. Right?
Yeah. So
well, the problem is, her playing with that doll all those years, that doll transitioned into a baby, and then the father is like the baby is the football. We just throwing that somewhere. You're just gonna throw it and hope somebody else catch it, right? Mm-hmm. We play a role in that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, what I'm not talking about, because I can hear something like, I ain't like that as a daddy. Well, I ain't talking about you, man.
Yeah,
I ain't talking about your mama either.
Right, if the shoe don't fit, just put it aside. It doesn't belong to you, sir. Don't put yourself insert yourself in something that don't, just to have something to say and complain. Come on now, people be complaining about nothing. Now stick to the subject, people. But I really, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Any other engagements? Where can we find you? Where can we find your is it an office? Do you have an online business? Tell us how we can contact you.
So to make work and life easier for the moms that we serve, our work is primarily online.
Okay.
So that they don't have to worry about getting folks packed up and dragging them somewhere or paying people to watch the kids for them. So it's primarily online. So the website is www.infamousmothers.com. And we have a conference called the Talk Back. And this year the theme is Welcome to the Spaceship, Technology, Business, and Love. A virtual conference, and it's from February 27th through February 29th. And tickets are not available just yet, but they'll be coming soon.
Okay, I want you to plug your YouTube, the Talk. What is it called? The Talk?
Because TED Talk.
Yes. Let us know where we can go and find you, so we can have a better perspective of you and what you're doing.
So the TED Talk. So just type in Sagashus, Sagashus.
One more time, what?
Sagashus, Sagashus. So that's 3 S's, as in Sam. No F, as in Frank. And TED Talk, or Infamous Mothers TED Talk. On YouTube.
And is this an African name? Is this?
So Sagashus is a word in the English dictionary, and it's spelled. The last syllable is spelled differently. It's Sagacious, and it was a word that was used frequently in the 1800s in books like Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice, and it means wise, shrewd, calculating, and of keen mind. And my dad, who was an avid dictionary reader, named me Sagashus in part because by the time I came, he had maybe 9 children.
Okay.
And it was important for him to change the direction of his family line. And so where my siblings have names like Kyle and Sean and Chandra and Paul, I was the only one with a strange name, because by the time I showed up, he said, it's time for me to do something different, right? And so he didn't know how to do much different in terms of his parenting, but in his mind, if he called me Sagashus or wise every day, then it would bring about a change. And I think it did, because, and I am the kid that's out of all of his 12 kids, who's taking care of him today. So,
and I believe that your words are powerful.
Yes, they are.
What you say, what you put in the universe, what you put in the atmosphere will come back to you. Yes. However you're feeling inside, speak that thing out. What you want, speak that thing into existence, people. Next year, it'll be 2020. It's your 2020 vision. Whatever you want to see yourself, wherever that 2020 vision, baby. Get your mind right and start speaking your life into existence, people. This is Antonette Crosby and Sagashus Levingston, and I want to say love yourself first, or who else will?
That's right.